Welcome, everybody. It's me, Brandy P, with the Yes, I Am the Veteran, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host from the Sentinel Collective, Miss Amelia Peacock. How are you doing, sis?
I am doing fantastic, doing well.
Well, we have been here, there, and everywhere the last few weeks. Everywhere from symposiums to knife-making courses and back again.
Yes, it has. It has been interesting and much, very enjoyable.
Absolutely. And I'm so proud of you as well as Pacifica for all that you guys did for the PTSD MST Symposium, the first annual. And it was so absolutely needed.
Yes, ma'am. There's been such a great level of feedback that has shown that the ripple effect that we were looking for has indeed occurred. So we're very grateful that, again, that Larissa brought this to the table, and that we were all, able to get in there and be able to plan with her and make this occur and bring it to reality. And we're so looking forward to what the next year is going to bring for the MST and PTSD Symposium for this area.
Absolutely. And it's very needed. And I was amazed by how many women were there supporting, and not just women. There were males there too, telling their stories. And it was quite powerful and so needed.
Yes,
and before we do talk a little bit about our knife making course, because I absolutely wanted to give credit where it is absolutely due with our amazing Forge Masters that agreed to teach this course for our veteran community. But I want to bring to the stage my personal Shiro, original Rosie the Riveter, and Air Force Lifetime Achievement Award winner, the always amazing Miss May Krier. Hi, May.
Hi, ladies.
Hello, Miss May.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Once I get on this computer, I'm okay, but getting me on is another, problem. So here we are.
Yes,
So there's been a lot of updates since the last time we did have you on, and it's absolutely always our pleasure to have you on. But I did want to show a little bit about our knife making course before we did start with our questions today, if that's all right. So we had 4 Forged in Fire competitors teach a bladesmithing class for our veterans. And I'm going to try to find this picture, but my vision sucks. Okay. And so from left to right, I did. So this is Handle Tom. That's Tobin Nieto from Stonehaven Knife Works. We've got Alex Ruiz from the Valinder Forge. We've got Joe Momoa. And we have the always amazing Miss Amelia Peacock, which we were the support for this class, and we had over 80%, or was just about 80% women in this course. Mm-hmm. We actually had men tell us that it was just a little too hot for them.
Maybe a little spicy.
Always. And so these were the blades that we made. So that piece of steel on the left is what everyone started with. And these were all the blades by the end of the day. And I was very impressed with the participants and how well they did. And look, I think I know her.
Maybe just a little bit. That oil. Ooh, that was hot.
Yeah, it was.
That was hot.
Yes, it was. But yes, I just love seeing the smiles on everyone's faces. Everyone had such a great time. And we are absolutely and truly appreciative of the opportunity that we have. And they liked the class so much that I believe we're doing one in November as well. And that class is already has a wait list, which makes me happy. In November, it will also be a little bit cooler for forging.
Yes. But I tell you what, you will definitely get any issues you have out on that metal. And so it is great for that.
What do you use for that handle? You're winding, looks like twine or something on the handle. What do you use?
It was hemp cord. That's what they ended up using. If they were to make like full handles out of wood, it would take about a full extra day. Mm-hmm. So anyone that is interested in the class, please reach out to us. But yes, I need people that do glue those handles. They can always cut them off later. And like attach a different type of handle. But it was definitely an amazing opportunity.
No, absolutely, it was. Everybody had a great time. I know everyone left tired and exhausted, but fully fulfilled.
Yes, I love seeing the smiles on everyone's faces. And then there were some people at the very beginning that were concerned that, you know, they just weren't keeping up with the class, and they had phenomenal blades. I just love seeing empowered people in general. So it makes me happy every time that we are able to do a class.
Brandy, when you finish these knives, what do? Do you use them for promoting, or there's so many there? What are they a treasure for yourself, or
a treasure? I wish. Nope. So each one of those went back with the student at the end of the class. For me, my knives seem to grow wings. Whenever I finish a build, they tend to fly right out of the door. Metallica blade, I think, is the longest one I physically held on to, and it wasn't on purpose. But I have donated knives.
Go ahead, I was going to say, we've already got some additional orders that have been placed for more of her grenades. So
yeah. Learning to weld too. But no, a lot of times what I do, at least what I used to do when I worked with the Kaler Forge, is I would donate my blades. So the materials for the next class would be taken care of from the sales. But I usually donate them in some way, shape, or form. I probably should sell them at some point, but I'm getting there. I don't know. So, Miss May, I would like, if it's all right, because I know that some of our listeners have not been able to meet you quite yet through the podcast. Could you briefly introduce yourself?
Repeat that, Randy.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. My name is May Krier. I'm a Rosie Riveter from World War II. I worked at Boeing in Seattle, Washington. I helped build B-17 and B-29s, which I'm very proud of. There we go. My name is not on that body on the wing. My name is on that plane. That's the $5,000. That's the 5,000 B-17 we made since Pearl Harbor, and that was May of 1944. What a thrill that is to see them take a wing that I've made or worked on and have it attached to the body of that plane. It's amazing. You know, there's things we never seen or never imagined that we would see when we were growing up. It was a wonderful experience. And that's me when I went to work at Boeing. I was 17 years old, going on 18 years old. But you know, that wasn't unusual at all. When we were in Normandy, there was 5 of us Rosies. And of the 5 of us, almost all of us we were all from different states. And almost all of us were 17, 18 years old, right out of school, went right to work. It was amazing. And we all took great pride in what we did.
That's amazing.
It is. And you have so many photos, too, from that era. Like, I can't even find my military photos from 20 years ago. You're doing better than me.
Oh, you know, Brandy, I've got so many pictures of my planes, but I have very few of myself. At the time, I don't know, I got one from a photo lab that I, used to be able to walk in and sit down and take a picture for a quarter. I have one with the bandana one, and I just thoroughly dislike it. But that's one of them. But I had very few pictures taken during the when we were working. In fact, I don't remember photographers coming up on our platform.
Really? They were sneaky.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't fair. No, they did. They did went throughout them. Boeing is huge. I don't even remember how many planes we did in a day or two. It was amazing how fast we put up, especially the B-17s. That was my favorite. The B-29 didn't come along until closer to the end of the war. They were having problems with engine fires in the engine with the B. And you want to know something? The women, the WAFs, are the ones that straightened it out. The men couldn't figure out what was causing the fire in the engine when they would take off. It was because they were revving them up too fast. They wanted to take off in a hurry. So the captain of the Enola Gay went to, I think, it wasn't Sweetwater, Texas at the time, but wherever these WAFs were. And he knew that 2 of them were experienced in commercial flying. And so he asked them if they would come try it. And they got that plane off the ground. They proved that if you don't try to rev the engines up too fast, it won't catch on fire. No, a woman did that. There were 2 women did that. Okay.
I love that.
This goes to show you, even when we riveted, some of us women were much better than the men.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the men got paid more and they got the credit. I mean, it wasn't a woman's world. It was still a man's world.
And how much did you get paid when you were working during World War II for Boeing?
And I think it was 93 cents an hour. That was big. That was a lot of money because most stockbrokers were only paying like 50 cents an hour before the war. So can you imagine not making a living on 50 cents an hour? But that was the going rate at the time. 93 cents was a lot of money at that time. I think the shipyard workers, they made more than that. They made over $1, I think. But I think their work was harder than riveting too, because most of them were welders. And that's not easy, especially the way you have to dress and work with a torch all day. And that was much more difficult than what I did.
Wow.
Well, I think what you did was pretty difficult, Miss May. And considering you drove a tank at 97, so you all know the intro, like the tank where it's moving in the beginning, that's May driving it. I just wanted everyone to know that. She drove it.
Well, you know, it wasn't driving. It wasn't so hard getting in and out of the damn thing was what was hard. They had to put it out.
I could have put you in a hamster bubble just for safety. I would have.
Yeah, but actually, when you're driving the car, you're using the steering wheel around. When you're driving the tank, it's just the levers that you go backward and forward. Mm-hmm. If you had a little time to practice, it wouldn't be any harder, except that you're driving the tank, not a car. But anybody could drive that tank if it was just a matter of doing it. But
that's half the trouble, though. Some of them are hard to get into.
It wasn't so hard getting in because you drop down, you get your feet on the seat and you can actually get down. But when you go to come out and you got to pull your body weight out, even though I'm not heavy, I can't even imagine anybody with any weight on being able to get in and out that way. Of course, we were all thin at that time. We didn't have the junk food and the things to make us gain weight at that time. So it was
there was no Netflix in the 40s.
Well, let me ask you, Miss May. Tell me a little bit about your family. Where does your family? What's a little bit about your background, your history? What kind of brought you into the position where you got started with Boeing?
I was born in a very small town in North Dakota. It was very small, and when the war was declared. Like I told you, all the men, all of my brother, all of the young men just left immediately. Like I said, it just took the heart out of our small town. But my uncle decided to enlist too. Now, he was a rural mail carrier. That's where he took the mail out of the country. Mm-hmm. Now, that job had to be filled. And so they gave it to my mother. I believe it was federal at the time. I'm not too sure. But my mother, you can know what those Midwestern winters, how terrible they can be, the blizzards and you'll know what a challenge that was for a woman. And my mother took that job, and I can remember, I think my mother was probably the first Rosie. But we had no idea that was, she was a strong woman, good woman. My mother and father were very civic-minded people. They would never let somebody be cold or hungry, things like that. They were very good people. So I remember that I always said my mother was the very first Rosie, because I was in World War II, 1941, December. Well, the boys were all, by January, the boys were already in the service. So that's when my mother probably became I'm not just sure what year, but right away, immediately after war was declared.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Nope.
And Miss May, can you tell us a little bit about Pearl Harbor and what you knew about it at the time that World War II, at least when the U.S. engaged?
Right. I was a teenager at the time. And the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed, it was a Sunday. My sister and I had been to a matinee. And when we came home, our folks were sitting by the radio very upset. And we said, well, what had happened? They said, Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor. I stood there and I thought, I don't think I really know where Pearl Harbor is. We knew our fleet was out there somewhere, but, we weren't sophisticated about the rest of the world. And I thought that was unusual, but as I traveled with the veterans, I found out so many of them told us at the time they didn't know either. We knew we had a fleet, but we had no idea how involved or how many ships there are out there. In fact, for so much I learned about it by going there. I've been invited to Pearl Harbor several times, and just going there and seeing those ceremonies and talking to these different people, the different ships and all. Absolutely amazing. If anybody has the opportunity or likes World War II history, it'd be a wonderful trip to take.
Absolutely, it would. And so with that, like in your involvement, I know that you're talking about the World War II memorials, but tell me a little bit more about the Women's Memorial, the World War II Women's Memorial, and how is Rhea doing? How is that going?
Oh, and that's going great, except now, she's just about to, she still needs the Senate. The Senate is so hard. I really worked out. We got, when we were going for, I helped get the National Rosie Riveter Day and our Congressional Gold Medal. Mm-hmm. Well, we got the House, but I wasn't proud at all, but we really worked to get the Senate, and this is what Ray is going to do now. And I'm just hoping that Senator Casey wouldn't lose his office, because he'd be a good one. He was so good with me. And I was just hoping that, I'm sure that he would follow through with this for that. But they're having a hard time getting the Senate to okay it. She's run into a little problem, but she's doing so great. It's unbelievable what she's doing. Like I get quite often, people send me donations to send to her or through her, and my face mask, bandanas, all of that's still raising money, but only just small amounts. I love it. It's just a matter of we asking them, it's to donate. We just send them a bandana or ask them if they'll donate, and it's amazing how some people come through. One lady in Massachusetts, Chris Locks, she took 4 dozen bandanas, and she's just doing an outstanding job. There's Ray and myself now. Ray came to visit her and her mother and father, and we're just having a good time.
I love that. And so they would donate by going to the World War II Women Memorial.org website, correct?
Right.
And that's where they would be able to go and donate?
Right. And it's so cute. I have a picture, and I don't know how to get it out of my computer. I can print it out, but I don't know how to move it. It's Ray and I holding hands when we went to Washington for the ceremony. And that's all you can see, the old and the young hand. And all I had to feel like I'm passing the torch to Ray. It's so cute. And then from the temple, he wanted me to do it, send it, but I got to figure out how to get it out of there. I have no idea how I got it. So, but that's like you, girl. You just jump right in and get it out. Fine.
I love the symbolism of that. That's amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing that picture, Miss May.
But Ray and I go back. When Ray started this, she was in the 5th grade, and she wrote to me. And I thought, well, that'll last a week, maybe 2 weeks, and she'll forget all about it. Isn't that amazing? Here she is. She's graduated from college, and she's worked all the way through it. And I call her our new and shining star. I just think she's wonderful. She's the nicest young woman, and she's going to go far. And I know that she's going to get the support she needs. It's just a matter of pinning it down,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We're trying to get her to come down here to Texas as well, so she can join us, so we could do a big event for her. And I do definitely hope that we see her down here in Texas.
Brandy, have you contacted her?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were in Normandy together, too. They didn't know that we knew each other. She went I'm a student, with this is when we went with the best defense. And they had these young students on. They were wonderful. And she was one of them. They had to be special to get picked, and they were from all over. And when they didn't know that Brandy, Ray and I had been friends for a long time. And they found that kind of interesting.
I love it. I love that.
This is a picture of the group.
There we go. That's when we were in Brent. Look at those young students. And they would just take turns riding on the different buses. There's 5 buses. And on the days when we were traveling, they would just take turns. They'd all separate and come talk to us and talk to the veterans. And so it was just a wonderful thing.
And I believe for the 80th celebration of the Normandy invasions, was there 2.5 million people from Europe that showed up to support you guys?
I was there for the 75th too. And we were a smaller group, and we just had it was wonderful what we experienced. And then with the best defense, that was a huge group. We had about 50 veterans alone. So I think there was 3 buses. I don't know how many was on the plane, but that's every day we had 5 buses. We had 5 buses every day. They did a beautiful job. I mean, these people that run these tours, most of them are great. I mean, it's just wonderful what they do, how hard they work to get us there and, to arrange everything.
It was a beautiful celebration, and I'm very glad that so many World War II veterans and as well as original Rosie the Riveters were able to be in attendance for something so amazing.
It is.
You inspire so much of us.
What was that, Brandy?
You inspire so many of us, Miss May.
I don't know about that. I just, when I started this, people don't have any idea where this all began. When the men came home from World War II, they had parades, flying flags. They were honored everywhere. The women, they never, no thought to the women. There was no mention of what the women did to save the war, save our country, save the world. So I didn't pay too much attention until my children. Now my children are baby boomers. My daughter was born right after the war. My son was 2 years later. And so until they got a certain age, that just stirred at me. I just kept thinking, it's not fair that we weren't recognized. So 40 or 50 years ago, at least, I started. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I just knew it had to be done. And I would write to different things. I'd see different things, maybe in the news or wherever. And I just never quit. Each decade, maybe I'd write a little more. But it never took off until one of the newspapers read my story. And they did a beautiful story on me, and it went viral after that. I said to the editor, "Why did you wait so long to do my story?" Because I had sent it to them too. She said, "Every day, so many articles come across our desk. That day was the day we need a story like yours." So see, luck enters into it as well as being determined. I'm a determined cuss. I just wouldn't give up. I'm looking for God. It tickled me, so I heard one of the women from Michigan at the Congressional Gold Medal ceremony. She said, "Who would ever believe this could happen?" And I thought they have no idea how many years so many of us worked to make it happen. It didn't come about overnight, that's for sure. And it didn't come about easy. And you've got to meet the right people. And not only meeting them, you've got to, it's like when you talk to your senator or something, you want something. Well, you've got to do the background work. You can't expect him to do it all. And some people don't like that, and they don't do it, and then they blame him. So I said, he always marveled over. I had everything on the background. I used to walk the halls in Washington. You can't imagine. One day I walked 6 miles, in the halls, and ding dong.
I believe that.
But we had so much fun. I just remember the day we went to Cory Booker. He's a senator from New Jersey. We had more fun in his office, even if they're not there and we don't get to meet them. It's so much fun to meet their staff because, their staff does so much for them. You can't reach them. You go through the staff to get to them. And one of the biggest thrills of my lifetime was meeting John McCain. I was in Washington for, we got the National Rosie Riveter Day. That was our beginning. And we had 2 days in Washington. I didn't want to leave Washington until I met John McCain because I thought he was a wonderful politician. Like I said to him, I don't like everything you did. I like what you do, but I don't like everything you did. He laughed. He thought that was so funny. But anyway, we went to his office and just walked right in. And they said, "You have an appointment?" He said, "No." "Well, he's very busy." And then they left us sit for a while. And I said, "Well, why do you want to see him?" And I told him, "Oh, he invited us right in." And he was so nice with us. We took a lot of pictures. And about 3 months after that day, he sent me a picture of the two of us together. Mm-hmm. And he wrote to May Krier in admiration and appreciation. You can't imagine how I value that picture. I wish we had more John McCains today.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. And how many presidents did you write in your time trying to advocate for the Rosies before you were recognized?
Well, I've lived through 18 presidents now, and don't forget Roosevelt was in his fourth term because of the war. I was born during Calvin Coolidge's time, and that was the 1920s, and I think that was the worst decade in American history. We had the Dust Bowl, we had the Great Depression, we had the stock market crash. People were just lucky to have a roof over their head and food to eat. None of it was easy to come by. And many families had to move in with each other, or you fed each other. And nobody realized what that was like until they experienced it. But I don't remember one happy moment. I know there must have been some, but I was always happy. You don't need material things to make you happy. And we come out of a good family, a warm, fun family. So that just goes to show we're too hung up on material things today. We need, I want,
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And so, Rosie, I'm curious, when you were, where were you when you heard that the war had ended? What were you doing? What was that like after being, a Rosie and working on the B-29s and the B-17s? Like, what was that like coming home? And where were you when you heard that it had ended?
That was such a fun thing. And now I was married now. I met this kid sailor on the dance floor in 1944. And we just become real good friends. We love to dance. But there you go. It's our picture. We used to win dance contests. And it's so funny because we didn't think he'd ever, until he was transferred. 1945, he was transferred. And we realized that we were more than just friends. And so we decided to get married. But it took a little doing because he was transferred. It was like 250 miles away. So we didn't get back to Seattle very often. But the thing, when he did get back, I have to tell you, I always tell this story. But when he did get back, we were able to go get our marriage license, which cost us $2. And then when we were able to get a weekend where we could get married, we could get enough time to get back and get married. And then a church married us. We were married in a rectory, but they didn't charge you for anything. So getting married for me was $2. And when I'd get mad at him over the years, I used to say, just how much do you expect for $2? And then,
oh, that is great.
He got his money's worth because we were married almost 70 years.
Oh, I love you, May.
He sure did.
And another little thing I love, I heard this from a comedian and I used it a few times. People would ask me when we were married or where. I said, we met and married during the war. And they'll say, well, which war? And I said, the Civil War. And they walk away not even knowing what I said. So that just goes to show you how people really listen.
So people need to pay more attention to history class.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. History is important. Knowing where we're going from where we've come.
But that's life. If you can't laugh and enjoy it, it's enough. That's the most important thing of all, is enjoying every day if you're lucky enough to do it. Yes. Like I said, I've been so fortunate. I've always had such good health. And I'm such a happy person. And I've always been a tomboy. And that helps you get through so many things. My sister was one of the sweetest people in the world. She was a real lady, and I was just the opposite. It was amazing how different we are, I guess if you have 6 kids, you have 6 different personalities. Mm-hmm. But she was a riveter. Her and I and our girlfriend went to Seattle together. And that's how we thought we'd go for the summer. We thought it would be a lark. And the way it turned out, we loved it. We all stayed through the war.
That's amazing. I love hearing all of your stories from that time. I feel like I learn something new every time you tell them.
Well, you know what, Deb? Deb. When my face went viral, my face mask went viral. Deb called me and asked me, could she help me? And my God, she never knew what she was getting into. I worked her fingers to the bone. She's still working with me, great. But she didn't know just until this last year that her mother was Rosie. She drove an ambulance, and she didn't know that fell under the umbrella of Rosie the Riveter. And I told, this is one of the things when I started my program, I would get hold of these Rosie. They had no idea they were considered Rosie because they probably worked in a small factory someplace in the middle of this country. They made a small part for that B-17 that I was making. they didn't realize that that part for that plane was just as important as my rivets. We couldn't have got that plane off the ground had it not been for what they did. They just didn't realize how important their role was. And that took a lot of doing to make these women realize that they were Rosie, we all fall under the same umbrella. And I was so pleased when I met so many wonderful women that way. From Vermont, from Oklahoma, they would get in touch with me after they heard that. And this is so important.
Speaking of Miss Deb, I know she also recently found out she's an honorary colonel in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
She's Colonel Deb.
She loves that. She had the mug up, and she was on something the other day. It was sure showing that part of it. But, it didn't matter what we did or where we did it. We were all in it. Even the people at the Victory Gardens. I can remember the things you saved. I can remember Mother saving bacon grease that we'd use for ammunition. You just didn't know everything you did. Every family, every member of the family did something to help. It wasn't my job or your job. It was our job to save our country. And we all worked together. I can't imagine. You couldn't imagine the time. A good example I always tell is a good example. I worked with there was more than one, but I worked with one in particular. She was a Gold Star mother. Now that's a mother who lost a son. She said she wouldn't quit working because she didn't want another mother to lose a son because he didn't have the equipment he needed. And I just think, and same way with the widows, so many widows, they lost their husbands. They hung right in there and kept working because they knew how important it was to save our country. And this is the caliber of the people. I can't imagine it, being I'm almost 100. I've seen so many changes in behavior or women. It's just like, I always use a good example of respect. As you know, we didn't necessarily like the candidate that became president, but we respected the office, and we didn't beat him to death like we do today. I mean, it's just terrible. We got to blame the news for that because, it's just any little thing they'll pick up on it, whether it's true or whether it isn't. Once they put it out there, people always remember the bad part of it.
That's very true. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And so, May, we've heard Rosie the Rocketeer has another mission. What was her first flight like?
My first flight?
How was Rosie the Rocketeer's first flight? Can you tell us about when Rosie went to space?
Are you talking about my bandanas? My face mask? Oh, yeah. They were laughing. They kidding me if I was going up. And I said, are you kidding? But, it was the story behind that, a lot of people don't know. I was asked to be on a STEM program with Congressman Fitzpatrick, Senator Casey, and David Calhoun. He's the CEO of Boeing. He's the one that's on the pan now. But before we had a STEM meeting, it was 8 schools and 100 students. And Dave Calhoun got on the phone. He said, May, don't hang up when we're over. We got a surprise for you. And this is when he told me that they're going to put my bandana and face mask on their mannequin, Rosie the Rocketeer, that went up to the International Space Station. You can't imagine. There's my. But it was delayed because the first time they had problem with the rockets. It was delayed, I think, about a year. But when it did go up, and we had to wait for the rocket for them to open the capsule. When they opened the capsule, I could read what I wrote on that bandana. I wrote, to the moon and the stars, May Krier, Rosie, Riveter. My father was a great storyteller. That was our only entertainment. And he used to talk about the moon and the stars, always the stories about the moon and the stars. All I could think of when I read that, I wish my father could see that.
That's so beautiful, May. I love it.
When they came back to Earth, they invited me to Washington. You see there now, they framed him. And they gave him back to me. They gave me a medal that had gone up there to the space too. And there's been talk about maybe putting them in the Smithsonian. That's just talk. So I don't know whether that happened or not. But isn't it amazing? When I was down to Capitol 4 this year, that beautiful ceremony in Washington, afterwards we were with the whole group of the people that put it together. And they asked me what would I say was the highlight of my career. Well, things I've said, I've done so many wonderful things and I've enjoyed everything, but I would have to say the most unusual probably is get my bandanas into space. How many, it's unique. But, but I've done so many, you just can't pinpoint anything in particular. Unlike the Air Force, I've had such a good time with the Air Force. They've given me a Lifetime Achievement Award. In fact, what's up here above me? They flew me to Salt Lake City. They flew me to Oklahoma City. Last year it was going to be Dallas, but they changed that and they finally ended up canceling it. But I've been in the Pentagon. You can't imagine. They gave me my 93rd birthday party in the Pentagon.
Was that when you got to meet General Hap Arnold? When did you get to meet him?
Oh no, that was World War II.
Okay.
That was so unique because I worked on the wings, and the wings were set up on a platform, so you have to get off the platform when they're moving that wing and going to attach it to the body. So it was my sister and I think there might have been 6 or 8 of us, I can't remember. We got off the platform, we're standing down there when he came by, and he just stopped and talked to us. He talked so nice to us. And before he left, he shook our hands and thanked us for what we were doing. And when he left, he just made us so proud. And of course, that's a thing they do to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, but never forgot him. And now when I go to the Pentagon, they're all so amazed when I say I shook hands with Hap Arnold.
Yeah.
Because he's everything in the Pentagon.
The godfather of the Air Force. Yeah. Right. I had to study about General Hap Arnold to make promotion. So you meeting him in person was like the cherry on top of it for me.
Well, yes, we were so young and naive. We just didn't realize. We didn't even know at the time how important he was. We knew he was in charge, but we didn't realize the importance of it because we didn't have an Air Force yet. This was Army Air. And now when I go to it's so funny when for my 93rd birthday party, General Goldfein, he's I'm sure you know him. That's in charge of the Air Force. His wife gave me the one that gave the birthday party, and she said he wouldn't be able to be there. I'd been to met him on different occasions when we go to air shows and things, and they said he wouldn't be able to be here today. But when they were cutting the cake, I turned around. He was standing right behind me. I just turned around and gave him a big hug, and I said, "I've never hugged a general before," and he says, "I've never hugged Rosie Riveter before either." And his group of men, I thought maybe I embarrassed everybody, but we just had a good time over it. Anyway, so I hugged the general.
I love that. That is so, I love the stories that you have, the experiences.
So much fun through all of it. It's just, I said, like the Air Force, they've just been outstanding with me. I've had so much fun with them over the years. So, but it's not just the Air Force. When I go to my next event down in Washington, as the American Valor. That's when I just love those cadets. There's so many young cadets there. And I just love them because it's so new. It's kind of like the babies of the group or something. They're so enthused and up to, and they're so sharp looking. They're so nice. They're the nicest group of young people. I just love seeing them. In fact, I've made 60 deck pieces to take with me this year to give the girls. Because they seem to like what Rosie Riveter stands for. So, that's
you
awesome.
You are quite literally, Miss May, a living legend in history. I remember studying about the Rosies, and then when I was running for Miss Veteran America, and then a few years later, I met you, and I remember thinking I didn't deserve that interview.
Well, I've been on so many things. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, a writer was here. She comes in the evening with me. She's done a few stories on me. She's helping promote Rhea now. And even when she left, she was out in California, and she contacted me, telling me things that we'd been talking about. These are the men from Pearl Harbor. They were here to do an interview with me, 2 men, Jim McCoy. He's the one more or less in charge of the Pearl Harbor affair on December 7th. And it was just so nice to meet these people. I did a school Zoom. It's such a variety of things I do. And I was on Forbes. I don't know if you see Forbes. I was on Forbes 50, over 50 impact this year. I was stunned to see myself on there with Cindy McCain and Melissa, what's her name, Melissa, the ones with the not Job's, but what's Melissa's last name? The important people that have the God, I hate that.
I'm terrible with names myself.
Well,
Anyway. Later, not a problem.
I had to laugh. I thought, what the hell am I doing on with these kind of people, But it doesn't matter. It takes people like us to make the wheels turn, Well, I guess you'd call us the grease that makes the wheels turn, right? It's amazing that we all need each other. That's the thing. You asked me one of the questions of what do they feel about women when they first started to become successful. All I can remember is if a woman started rise to the top, they'd call her a bitch. And that just angered me because she was every bit as smart. She probably qualified more than the man. Why were they picking on her just because she was a woman? But now that's not the case. Look, we're astronauts, we're everything, but we still have a long way to go. There's still an equal pay. I've fought for years for equal pay for the same job that the men are doing, Mm-hmm. And I go to trade schools quite often. And that's like I just went to London, Philadelphia. It's been about 6 months ago. I was amazed how many different jobs the women have taken on. I mean, so many different types. I have one little friend, she's cute as can be. She became a welder, and they tell me she's very good. She works on catalytic converters.
Nice.
I love this. I love to see the women realize that if it's something they like to do, they're not afraid to try it now. Because it's not a man's world anymore, even though they think so. If there's any men listening, I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm not.
Yeah, not sorry.
Like I say, it's not a man's world anymore. And, I've never fought for superiority. I've only fought for equality. And I don't understand why we're not equal, why we can't get along as men and women. We do. I love these young fathers. They promote their daughters. In our day, every man wanted a son because he could work the farm or something like that. The woman was, take care of, make sure we got a good meal when we're done, or make the beds and wash the clothes. That was the woman's role back then as a young girl. And now when I talk to these young girls, if you've got a dream, don't let anybody squash it or kill it for you. Think about it. If this is what you want to do, it's only you who are holding yourself back because it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of setbacks. That's what they don't realize. They stop. If they hit a snag, they stop. And that's just another learning point. I mean, how many times we get through a day if we don't make a mistake?
Absolutely.
So,
Miss May, why do you feel it's important for women to advocate for themselves now more than ever? And how did you become an advocate yourself?
I don't know how to tell you about me. But I just think, like I said, if it's something you want to do, you don't have to think of it as competition with men or women. It's just something you've got to be determined that this is what you want to be. Look at years ago, they wouldn't dream of letting a woman be a doctor. But look at how many wonderful women doctors we have today. I think we set our own goals. That's the bad part. Women are hard on themselves. And I think that they don't think, well, it is harder. Let's face it, it's much harder for a woman to get through the all the rigmarole it takes. In our day, if a man or a woman, especially a boy or a girl, if they both applied for the same job, the door opened immediately for the boy. And sometimes the young girl was more qualified, but because he was a male, they opened the door. And now that's changing a lot. That's changing really good, which I'm happy for. But we still have a long way to go. But like I said, what difference does it make whether you're male or female? If you can do that job and do it well, and that shouldn't even enter into it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss May.
Not making girls more liberated, am I?
Always.
Miss May, you always make me feel liberated and empowered and amazed and honored.
Don't think I was. When we were married, it was still a man's world. I had a great husband, but we all catered to him. After he passed away, he lived to be 93 and was a good husband. After he passed away, I said one day, my husband was easy to cook for. And I realized, well, I cooked everything he liked. That's why he was good. You don't realize this.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a chore or anything. I didn't mean it in that way at all. It just means that our thinking had to change. And I'm sure had I gotten him more determined, he would listen, because I never asked for when they say ask and you shall receive, or demand and you'll get it. I never did, because we're always learned to play from young girls. So, but since then, I don't. Like I said, I'm losing my knee, but I still have my mouth.
Words to live by.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you do so much on the computer, you wouldn't believe it because of the trouble I have getting on with you ladies. But I do a lot. There's not a day goes by that I don't do a lot here. And now what I'm doing, I get so many requests for signatures, pictures, and just everything. Now what I'm doing, I said, all right, you're asking a favor of me. Now I'm going to ask a favor of you. Donate to raise fund.
That's right.
And so anybody who wants to check out her webpage, it's https://WWII womenmemorial.org. And if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out as far as donations, and you are not able to find it, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to connect you. But this is not just for one singular person. This memorial represents over 16 million women who stepped up when the nation called for aid in their factories. Literally, the economy went from 1% women, 99% men, to the next year being the exact opposite. And so there's so many women that did not ever know in their lifetimes they were Rosies. And it's so important now that we're looking at our history and we're supporting. And right now, Raya has so many years in which to come up with the amount to have those memorial in the National Mall. I could not imagine being her age and having to raise that amount of money. So we here at Yes, I Am the Veteran are absolutely happy to support in any way that we can as well.
Well, Brandy, Dave Winters from Florida, Tampa, I do his program. I've done it quite a few years. He's the same way. He's just wonderful with the women. He's good with everybody. He supports the veterans, wonderful, but he supports women just as well. And I just love it. Now he's very good support for Ray. He's doing a lot. And you've met Dave Winters, right?
Oh yes. I'm looking forward to seeing you both in December as well. Yeah.
And he just works. It's just wonderful the way he works for women as well as the men. Doesn't seem to matter to, and he appreciates anything you do, anything at all. And he's really been doing good for raising money for Ray. And he's an inside track to people who might, and you're just going to need big time donors. I mean, companies, organizations. She'll never make it on what I, earn for her, $50 or $100 here and there. That'll never do it for her. She's got to get big bucks. I never had to earn money, so I never fell into that category. But we can help Ray in any way we can, because once she gets that, I forget what the cost of the money.
$7 million, I think they said.
What's that thing?
I think they said $7 million. I think that's what Dave told us.
Yeah, and no, the thing is, once she does get that installed, she's got to maintain it for 7 years before the park pays over. So she's got to earn money for a lot of money just to maintain that for 7 years. And then after that, they take over. But I said to Rhea, you're going to be a famous young lady. And she's sweet. And she speaks so well. I like that when she gets up and speaks. She's what we need. She's, like I said, she's a shining young star. And it's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so nice seeing her in Washington at the Congressional Gold Medal ceremony as well. And she spoke very well, and her mom was very lovely. It was nice to meet them in person as well, as meet so many other original Rosies, as well as see you, Miss May. I always look forward to seeing you.
And it's like I said, this has been so great for me. I've done it all, I've worked on it for so many years. And like I said, I had no idea where I was going. I never stood up and spoke. You can't imagine how nervous I was the first time they asked me to speak. And I said, you just do what you have to do when when you're determined about something, and don't give up. And like I said, I had no idea where I was going with it, but I knew it had to be done. And I just never give up. And And I know I'm not exactly, it's 40 or 50 years. I've lived here in this house 45 years, and I started before we moved here. So that's roughly what I've done. And when I was able to go to Washington and walk the halls, I just thought some of you really like, some of you don't, you think I'll never vote for him kind of thing. But it's just so interesting because you learn every day, everything you do, you learn so much from them as well as they're learning from you. But it's amazing. I didn't even know when I started just exactly how our capital, how our everything worked in Washington. I knew that in itself is an education. But it, just like I said, like that one day, I remember one day we walked the whole 6 miles. That was the only time I remember how much, because there were certain days we had appointments. Like we had an appointment with Elizabeth Warren, and I wanted to meet her, but we had a snowstorm that day, so we did get to meet Amy Klobuchar and a few like that. But it was you got to accept what works, You can't control Mother Nature, so you just go along with everything. That's like I say, Mother Nature's taking her toll on me, whether I like it or not. So.
Well, you still I'm pretty sure you walked at least 3.5 miles at 97. But I definitely can understand sometimes your body wants things that you mentally don't.
Well, when I was in Normandy for the 75th celebration, I had not a problem in the world. I could climb mountains. Now I can't even climb molehills. So, but that's something you have to accept it to say, this is very difficult to accept when things start going wrong for you. Because, like I said, I've always been so healthy and all. But you can't fool with Mother Nature. Up there, you
can still mount molehills, Miss May. I know you're still driving that.
Mm-hmm. I still cut my grass. I'm going to have to get a lawn service probably next year. But in fact, I just cut it the other day. But I've moved everything that's in my way. I used to have flower beds and fountains and things. I've taken all that out because I've got to have a straightaway. I can't have anything where I've got to turn, work around. So, but I still do it.
I love that.
But I love being outside. I don't want that taken away from me. As long as I can do it, I will. I can't see any reason why I can't. I mean, some people think that.
You are Rosie the Riveter. Why would you say you couldn't do it? Like, it's like the opposite.
Yeah. I remember one man saying to my son, "Oh, don't let her do that." I guess, but I said, he said, "Try to stop her."
Right. I was gonna say, did he know who you are or what you're like?
But you raise your children that way too. You raise them, teach them to be strong and think for themselves and be independent, especially that if there's something you want to do, go for it. I said both of my children ended up with their master's degree. Of course, they're retired many years now, but they've been in education. My son got his degree in science, but they wanted him for a football coach where he had graduated because he was on the football team. And so he went back and got his master's in education, and he taught for 45 years. So, you never know where you're going when you start out. Like I tell these kids that go to college, half of them don't end up doing what they thought they were going to do in college. And God knows we need tech schools. I really push for these tech schools. Yes. We need tech schools. We need children who know how to use their hands and fix things. So I think that's so important. It seems to be in our day, if you didn't get a college degree, it's so important. It was like a status symbol. Mm-hmm. Because half of them couldn't get jobs after they graduated. Mm-hmm. But with technology, you can go to school, earn while you're learning. And I think that's so important. So we're going to push for tech schools.
And you're never too old to learn. I'm learning to weld at 40. So I'm saying you can learn stuff at any age. And so it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today, Miss May. I know we did go a bit over in time, which I never mind. But I did want to go around and get final thoughts from everybody before we did close up today.
But Brenda, you stirred up such memories today. We could go on for hours.
I do it. Don't tempt me with a good time.
Emil, it was so nice meeting you.
You as well.
Nice, yeah. And Brandy, I just can't thank you enough for what you do for us and what you're doing for women. Someday we would like to have you. I think it would be nice if we had you on our podcast. You've got such an interesting story to tell. I just think the government hasn't been fair to you, and I think that you should tell your story. Can we work that? Can we do that?
Absolutely, Miss May. You let me know, and I'll make it happen.
Well, yeah, we got. It's so important to get our stories out there. And no one, you don't know. Look at how many people you'd meet with being able to tell your story. I mean, you never know when you're going to get the right people or here to get the right ears, or the people that are going to pick up on your story. Just don't know it. And so much in our life is luck. Like I said, what the editor told me, and it's so funny because I became friends with that editor. And when I get our Rosies together, she'd even bring her mother to get together with our Rosie. So you're very friendly. You meet people and blend so well. I just think we pretty nice thing to do.
Well, anytime, I'm absolutely happy to support. Always, you know that, Miss May. And so for everybody listening, Miss May also has a podcast. She is 99 with a podcast, and it is called Breaking Barriers with May Krier. And if you want to check out her previous episodes, they are on her Honor Rosie Facebook and YouTube pages. And we are working on getting them on all platforms once again.
And I would just like to say, Miss May, thank you so much for being one of the, those trendsetters, the gatekeepers, the ladies that have really paved the way for those of us coming behind you, because we would not be where we are at today if it wasn't for you having your voice. And that is so, so very important to me. So I greatly appreciate that, just from a personal standpoint and from a community standpoint, because your experience and everything you've gone through and fought for is so important for us to keep in our hearts and our minds as we continue to go forward and continue to fight for a better way. Thank you.
There was many women before us that left their footprints in the sand, but there was so many of us, and that was so beneficial because we did it with numbers.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And you ladies are the true sheroes, and I think for many generations to come, they will absolutely know who Rosie is. I know everyone that I know is going to know who she is. So I'm a very old lady. So absolutely, Miss May, you are an inspiration to so many people. Thank you for all that you do and all that you inspire. Like, you inspire me all the time. I went from having a TED Talks giver tell me I was a terrible person to, continuing to help people, continuing to advocate. And I've been able to help so many other people along my wild adventures. Some of them with tanks, some with flamethrowers, some with other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about educating, empowering, and inspiring others. And so thank you, Miss May, for teaching me so much.
And just remember this. We can do it.
Yeah. Are we going to do a power up before we close? Okay. All right, Miss May, can we power up? We can do it. What about you, Amelia? Yeah. All right, Aurelia, take us away. Thank you so much, Miss May. Next week, we will have Vetted on. And have a good night from us at the Yes, I Am the Veteran podcast. Take us away, Aurelia.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Aurelia. Just a reminder, smash like, hit subscribe, and click the bell. Please give me my mommy some hearts. Yay, Veteran!